everybody, Jeff, your executive gardener here. Thanks for joining me for another episode. Hey, I'm coming at you today from a little bit different environment. It's in my office. So we're in the winter here in Houston, Texas, and the weather continues to be crummy, cold, and rainy, which is an off year for us, of course. But it is currently January 15th, and I'm going to start my first ever series of videos for a particular topic. And this one's going to be about growing peppers. So in my example, I don't care for hot peppers, but I do like sweet peppers. And I'm going to talk to everybody out there that's watching this about what you can do, and it's going to be a series, so probably 1 through 5. This is part 1 of how to successfully grow sweet peppers, hot peppers from seeds in your own environment, in your own home. So those that don't know, peppers are probably my favorite vegetable or fruit to grow in the garden. They're relatively easy to grow once you get going, but there's some tricks. In this video, I'm going to start in the first part of the series is what I do to successfully grow peppers. Now, you can follow your own method, and I've tried multiple things, but this actually works for me really well. And I'll bring you along in the series to see how it works. So, and it could be a complete flop too, but either way, you'll see the truth and you'll go along with me in these series. So, growing peppers, germination, number one, can be kind of tricky. So, peppers are a bit finicky when you start them from seeds. Now, personally, I do not buy pepper plants from the store. The reason why is that if you live in zone 8A and above, that means you typically have a longer growing season. So you can typically start your seeds indoors. Now, germination, like I said, can be kind of tricky. So to grow pepper plants and seeds in general, the seeds to germinate need a few things, and here they are. Number one, temperature. So it has to be between 70 and 80 degrees for seeds to germinate, whether you do it in a plastic bag with paper towels, which I don't, but some do. Or you do it my way, which is in Orta clay pots. You need 70 to 80 degrees. And what I'll show you in a second how I do it, I use a heat mat to keep the soil consistently 70 to 80 degrees to get successful germination rates. Now, my success in germination rates is probably not as good as others for whatever reason, but my successful seed germination is 50 to 70%. So half to 2/3 of the seeds that I plant successfully sprout and start a seedling, okay? The others die, okay? And that's not too uncommon. So, for example, tomatoes, you typically have 90 to 100%. And some of the seeds that I'm starting are second or third generation seeds that I've grown before. So that means they've adapted to my environment, but perhaps I didn't do the seed saving right like some of these bigger companies like Burpee do. So that's that. In addition to germinating pepper seeds, and I'll show you, it needs consistent moisture. Not inconsistent, but consistent moisture. And it does need some type of light source. I will show you my light source, what I use. I keep it relatively simple. The second thing I want to talk about in starting pepper seeds is the number one common mistake that people make when they plant pepper seeds. So let's say you live in zone 4 through 7, and you go to buy your packet of pepper seeds. That's a mouthful. And you read the packet and it says 90 days to germination. So you decide, 90 days to harvest. What the packet doesn't tell you, and I will tell you, and any experienced gardener will tell you, is that if you're starting from seeds, okay, so that's 90 days from transplant. So that's once the plant is in the ground, it'll take 90 days to bear fruit. Now, most sweet peppers are 60 to 90 days. A lot of hot peppers can be up to 150 days, okay? But what you have to do is you have to add 8 to 10 weeks on top of the 90 days in my example if you're growing your seeds indoors. So that's why January 15th I am planting. It'll take 8 to 10 weeks. So that's 60 to 70 days for my seeds to be transplantable outdoors, okay? So if I would have read the packet, started my pepper seeds, and I live in zones 4 through 7, and I look at that 90 days, you're going to run out of time, okay? That 90 days in my example, you really need 150 days, okay? Because that's only the time, the 90 days again, is when you transplant the plant till it bears fruit, full fruit for you, okay? So what that means is that you need to typically live in a warmer growing zone to successfully grow pepper plants from seed, okay? Which means that you have to start your seeds indoor. So I am starting mine January 15th. I'll show you my setup. And then I expect to transplant them in 60 to 70 days outdoors. And in Houston, 60 to 70 days will get me to late March, mid to late March, which means that the chance of frost has passed. So you really don't want to plant your pepper plants, transplant them outside if the temperature gets below 50, 60 degrees at night. 50 to be safe, okay? And certainly not in the 30s where it's frost, okay? So, again, that's why to be successful, and I've made this mistake, believe me. I saw, pepper plants, 90 days, and I started them late in the summer, and the frost in the winter hit, and I was dead. So, important mistake that most people make. I made it myself. And last thing I talked about, which I'll talk about real quick before I show you my setup, is, if you're going to grow grow pepper plants from seeds, pick varieties that you can't get at your local garden store. And that's what I've done. So I have nothing personally, opinion about people growing pepper plants from seedlings that you get from a garden center. I think it's a great idea, especially if you live in a part of the country where your growing season is shorter, or a part of the world where your growing season is shorter. That's probably the best route for you to go. But if you live in the United States, that is, in Florida, Texas, Southern California, Arizona, Nevada, some of these zones that are zones 8 to zones 10, start from seed and go online and find some varieties that you can't get in your local garden center. So in my example, in Houston, Texas, I wouldn't dare buy just a standard variety green bell pepper. That would be a waste of time and space because every Home Depot, every Lowe's, every garden center sells that. So I'll show you what I'm growing, and hopefully I'll be successful. So let me show you my setup, how it works, and I hope those tips have been helpful for you if you're planning on growing your pepper plants from seeds. So here's my setup in my office. I have the Hydrofarm grow light, heat mat, and the frame where the Hydrofarm light is set on with some rope. The nice thing I like about this, and I've had many setups, is it's, number one, it's inexpensive. It's 40 to 60 bucks. You can get it on Amazon.com. Again, it's the Hydrofarm grow light, and it's got this rope so you can increase or decrease the height of the light on top of your plants. So here's my setup. Okay, so I have pepper plants in these clay pots, and I'll talk to you about each. So typically, and I've increased the height of this for the purpose of this video, typically your grow lights want to sit about 3 inches, 4 inches above the soil or above the top of the seedling plants once they start growing. But again, I've increased the height for simplicity of this video. So what you have here, I talked about the numerous variables to successfully grow plants. Let's kind of get into it. So heat. So you need a heat source. So I have a heat mat that's on the bottom there. You can get that on the garden center. This is called the Agro Max mat. It produces heat between 70 and 80 degrees on the bottom of these clay pots, and it keeps the soil, which is the most important part, the soil, 70 to 80 degrees so you can have successful germination. In my mind, like I talked about in my experience, it's 50 to 70% germination rate with your seeds. So that's what I have. Now, I've talked about this before. This is my method. I buy the Orta kitchen grow pots, okay? So there's 6 different cells in each, and there's a reservoir, a cork that you fill the water up in. And the reason I use this is most of you know I travel quite frequently every week, and this allows me to be gone, and the plants, the seedlings, or the seeds, to have a successfully amount of water so the water doesn't run out. So these things hold, the reservoir does enough water for 2 to 3 days, for me at least, for these 6 cells each. Now, I'll put a link at the bottom if you want to buy them. These can be kind of costly. I think they're like $50 for each one, but You can use other things as well, such as even Tupperware containers. The key is and I have standard seed starting mix in here. The key is the heat source, okay, and the light. You have to have both. So let me show you what I've done here. As you'll see, I talked about the third item on my list, my kind of hints to you, which is growing seeds that you don't find standardly at the garden center. So let me show you what I've planted. What I did was for each cell, you'll see here, I plant 2 seeds per cell. So, and then I mark them this way, and that represents what seeds are in each row of cells. So let me tell you what I've planted. So in this row, I've planted what I do in my markers is I name the plant and then the date, which is buried in there, you can't see. So I have the giant Marconi pepper, in this row, sweet. I have the Jimmy Nardello pepper in both of these rows, right here. Because the Jimmy Nardello pepper is my favorite pepper. They're awesome. If you've never got them, get them. Incredible, freshly eaten on salads, or you can cook with them as well. Fry them. On this side, I have the Costa Rican red pepper. This I have actually the California Wonder, and then here I have the Spanish red mammoth pepper. Now, for the giant Marconi pepper, the Costa Rican pepper, and the Spanish mammoth red pepper, these are second or third generation seeds that I've saved from previous peppers, so hopefully they will do as well as the Jimmy Nardellos, which I actually bought from seed packs. But this is what I have. So typically, as I've said, to germinate seeds, it does take 7 to 10 days. So these will sit here for 7 to 10 days. My next video, I will come back and show you either my success or failure. We'll see what happens. I don't know how well the second or third generation seeds are going to do, but either way, we should have some sprouting. The reason I plant 4 in each of the cell rows is that with my success rate of 60 to 70%, I hope to get at least 1 or 2 plants. It's kind of insurance against getting a complete failure that will be growing. And then I will take only 1 or 2 of those and plant them in my garden. So I'll have a healthy variety of sweet peppers. So that's what I have. That's my setup, guys, from the executive gardener's office. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be simple. And what you need is patience. You're going to have to wait. Remember, this will take 7 to 10 days to germinate, and then I'll do a video shortly after that. Okay? So I hope this has been helpful. This is the first part of the series, growing pepper plants, and this, of course, is growing them from getting germination from seed. Okay? That's all I have. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Pass it on to a friend or a family member that's looking to get into gardening. Remember, at the YouTube gardening community, we all learn from each other. In the meantime, I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.